Maplstory the Novel, Season 1, Sacred Tears. Written by Tatsumari Korisuno. Chapter 6, Part 1. Salve. Once he had obtained his new staff, Dane spent 2 weeks attempting to rescue his grandfather 6 times. Every time, Hilda and a massive army of her skeleton soldiers waited for him. After the 7th attempt failed, Dane realized he would continue to fail and exhaust himself without help. The best source he could think of would be his original destination of Haim's tree. Perhaps the deity of life would have a solution to overpower Hilda's army, in addition to having an answer to ridding the world of darkness. 11 entire days passed since Dane had seen any kind of civilization while traveling through the Victorani province. Searching for the great tree of Haim had proven harder than he first thought. His rations were running low, his back and feet ached, and he was exhausted. Dane followed some promising leads about where the tree would be, but all the information he followed brought him to a small shrine or a dedicated tree in Haim's name instead. The glowing blue stone suspended in his staff gradually dimmed over the last 3 days, a sign mostly that he was becoming too weary to use any of his magic. Finding a small cove of roots to rest in, Dane pulled out Menodora's research journal, reading some of the notes she had left. It had been 5 months and 12 days since her death. He sometimes would dream about her or would find himself shedding tears when he thought about her. All in all, his sadness felt as if it were fading away, and the darkness surrounding him dissipated, but the world didn't seem to be any brighter.
Is this due to my light not having anything to replenish it?
He would ask himself. He would often imagine Menodora sitting across from him, with some kind of food she had prepared earlier in the day as he nibbled on rations of bread and dried fruits. If he didn't find some sort of village or even a house that could help him, he would be without food within 2 days. After closing the book, he nestled into the roots using his knapsack as a pillow and drifted off to sleep. Ariel did what she could for him, being sure to give him the strength needed for his long journey. As she peered down the road of time, she could see there were turbulent times ahead for this world. She tried altering events, high points in time to avoid this coming disaster. Her meddling would only make the disaster happen sooner or later. Additionally, the world itself was pushing towards a state of unrest. Kingdoms of people within the world would start battles for power. Disputes would break out easily among families that had been friends for generations, leading to decade-long feuds. Even old wrongs that had been forgiven between nations, families, or even siblings would rise to the surface. Dane helped stave off some of these unfortunate events, only for another, more potent dispute to appear somewhere else. Ariel could see there was something that must be done, but she didn't know what. She tried communicating this to Haim, but it seemed as of late that his only concern was making sure the world didn't die. Whether or not that meant there would be wars was inconsequential. Nanahuatsin's duties and abilities left him unable to help. The only option she had left was Dane. If only her interaction with him could be more personal, to actually meet him. The wounds in his heart were beginning to heal, yes, but based on the research she had read in his journal, those wounds would need much more care if they were to fully recover, and that required a personal touch. It would be perfect if she could actually meet him. Ariel would not only be able to heal him, but in doing so, could help him discover a way to avoid the coming disaster. She would finally have what she longed for. Him, all to herself, even if it was from a distance, with no way to have that love reciprocated. Perhaps this way, she could have it returned to her as she wanted. The problem would be how. She could extend her mind to the surface and interact with people on a minimal level. Dane seemed aware of her presence, but being a goddess of time meant that she couldn't come to the world herself without leaving most of her power and personality behind in the temple. She had done it once before when she had come to meet some devoted clerics of her order. In doing so, she found her personality and demeanor were far less caring than she truly was. This would not do, especially for love. She could bring him to the temple to meet her in person, but a human could only withstand the air of the temple for so long before having to return. Human bodies couldn't endure the sheer immense power of a goddess in its entirety for long, without a divine pact.
How could I be there for you?
She asked herself while watching him sleep. Brushing aside a lock of his hair, she wished that her interaction could be so much more than minimal contact. Humans were always more receiving of divine interaction when they were asleep. This contact, while pleasing, still wasn't enough. Goddess Ariel, you are spending too much time watching just that one human. A voice cut her concentration and snapped her back to her surroundings in the Temple of Time. Once aware of her surroundings, she saw one of her attending monks of the Green standing next to her.
And how would that be an issue? I am allowed some interaction after all, am I not?
Ariel questioned.
You are the goddess of time, yes, but even you must realize that your duty is to all the people of Usoria, not only this one human. And while your actions of the past have been menial, you can't focus on him alone. He will be gone in just a few short decades, something the monks of the blue have told us monks of the green time and again.
The monk persisted, bringing the ends of his long and wide sleeves together, hiding his hands.
I know, but I can't help but be drawn to him. He is so much like I was so long ago. His kindness is what draws me to him, his relentless drive to help others despite his own pain. It was he that I saw after extending my vision to this world. And even if it is for just a brief moment in time, I would like to know what love he had looks like. I want to know what it feels like.
Goddess, you are speaking of mingling among humans. Such a thing is forbidden. Even your constant presence around that man has altered him in so many ways, perhaps even for the worse. Your power isn't something that a human could withstand.
I know that, monk. I still want to be a part of his life. Not as a deity, but something more. I am a goddess, yes. But at my core, I am also a woman. There has been a void in my soul ever since I could remember. Perhaps he can fill that void.
Ariel smiled, turning her gaze back to the ground where Dane still slept.
You almost sound as if you were becoming human, goddess.
The monk retorted.
Perhaps my presence around Dane has changed me as well.
She chuckled softly when the thought struck her. Becoming human. Perhaps there was a way she could walk among humans and be with the one human that had captivated her so. Maybe not as a human, but something close enough to it to be with them. She went to the halls of the Green, where every memory of Usoria was stored since the great beginning. She searched the record scrolls and found one that depicted what she needed.
These creatures no longer live among the humans here. But perhaps I can use their likeness to my advantage.
She thought, smiling broadly as she set her plan into motion.